and relax and visit with each other and enjoy some lunch. If you didn't, I hope you will continue to do so as we get the afternoon portion of the program underway. Here to introduce our next speaker is Mr. Ben Dickey from our platinum sponsor, Lakeside Behavioral Health System, who I would like to thank again for their generous contributions to help make today possible. Ben Dickey.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ben Dickey. I work for Lakeside Behavioral Health Hospital here in Memphis, Tennessee. We are very passionate about this topic. I myself am a fighter every single day for those people who don't even know they're worth fighting for. So, God willing, next year I'll be 9 years in recovery myself. So, I'm here to introduce a very special speaker. I just met him at lunch a while ago, so he said, "Do not read my bio, say this." So I'm going to read a little bit, and then I'm going to say what he really told me to say. So, Thomas Farmer, he's a special agent and director of the Tennessee Dangerous Drugs Task Force for the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation. He has more than 25 years in the field doing this type of work. There is no one, I think, more important to fight this than somebody with that much experience. So he told me to say, no, don't say it. Mr. Thomas Farmer, everybody.
Thank you so much. Can you hear me now? You got me? Good. So just for my disclaimer, let me put up my disclaimer real quick since we're in a law school. All right, so imagine this is what's up on the screen. Please do not hold the comments that Tommy Farmer may say against the great state of Tennessee, the governor, or the director of the Bureau. He's so close to retirement right now, before the paperwork reached Nashville, he could be retired just like Joe Ranazizi sitting right there. With all of that said, let me jump in. Thank you very much. So I don't forget, at this end, everybody that's on this end, you've got a sweet and low pack. All right, you see your sweet and low pack? Joey, that sweet and low pack? So please take the sweet and low pack, take a look at it. There's a number on it. I want you to pass it around, look, examine the sweet and low pack, find the number on it, record the number to memory, and then don't let me forget at the end of the presentation to say, "Hey, Tommy, why did you tell us to look at the sweet and low pack? What's it got to do with anything?" So take a look at the sweet and low pack, pass it across, and as you do, please pass it across. You folks up there in the back, I think I gave somebody some extra ones right here. Did you get all those? Here, let's get you one right there. So you passed that one. So here we go. All right. Yes, about 29 years of law enforcement, so I apologize. And then some of the things, I'm going to be fast and furious. And if you think that I'm fast and furious at the information that I'm going to go over, Joe is going to be even faster with the information. So first and foremost, if we're talking about let's start the presentation. We're talking about the factors that are going to affect drug use. Price, perception of risk, public attitude, and then public attitude and availability. So I don't care what kind of drug problem that we're going to have, those are going to be the factors, and that's exactly what happens. Now in terms of price, how can the price fluctuate? And let's apply it to the opioid epidemic. Was price an issue 5 years ago for opioids? How? Good, bad, or ugly? What was she saying earlier? You're with Blue Cross? So if Blue Cross is paying for somebody's opioids and feeding somebody's opioid addiction, is price a problem for them? Price is not a problem for them, right? What about the availability? The availability of opioids, prescription drugs in the United States of America. Higher than ever. We've got literally, and I'll talk about it in a minute, and Joe will speak more on it, the perfect storm, where you've got lots and lots of drugs. I think you made the comment earlier, we've got a pill for everything, right? So, and it took a long time for us to get to the position that we're in today, and here would be one of the biggest things that I see. We've made a lot of progress in our state, and I want to preface everything that I'm saying. We've made a lot of progress. We've got our foot on the gas, but what we have to realize, and even drug agents like me, that there are a lot of there's a lot of moving parts to this, and so we have to be very, very careful. Law enforcement, what we want to do, we want you to tell us what the problem is, right? And then what? We're here, ma'am, sir. Can you tell me, sir, the problem? What's the problem? What's the problem? Can you give me an idea what the problem is? He punched. Are you don't? Listen, it's okay to talk to me. You can talk to me if you want to. Lawyer. I'm your friend. See how this works? And they actually do. Anyway, so as you approach, you distracted me. You got me off kilter there. So it can work many ways, and I forgot really what I was going to say with that, but it was going to be fantastic. I'll come back to it here in just a minute. All right, price, availability, perception, risk, and public attitude. What's the public attitude? What's the public attitude with pharmaceuticals, prescription drugs? Are they a threat? Are they a problem? Can you overdose to them? I mean, we know now. What were we thinking 5, 10 years ago? They're safe. Why? They're safe. They got to be safe because what? Doctor gave them to you. Doctor gave them to you. How many of you have had some type of major surgery, been in the hospital okay? So you're in the hospital, and what did they say? I've already heard somebody talk about the fifth vital sign. They've already talked about patient surveys or Press-Ganey scores, right? Linda will tell you as we've traveled across the state for the last 5 years, after we finish our presentations and talking to physicians and healthcare providers, pharmacists across the state, inevitably they always come up to us at the end of the session, and really where you get some of the most dynamic information. And fail not, what do they say to us? They come up and say, are y'all really serious about this? Y'all really want to do something about this problem? And we say, yes, I wouldn't be out here at 9 o'clock at night. I've got 1,400 miles on me already this week. I promise you I'm serious about it. Tell me. Well, if you really want to fix this stuff, you need to do something with that fifth vital sign. You need to do something with the Press-Ganey scores, the patient surveys, because you're killing us. Now, that's the physicians. Those are the nurses coming out there and telling us firsthand. And here's the incredible thing about it. So we sought out and said, well, okay, what's the law that mandates that? Is there? There is no law to mandate that. Okay, so that should have been thing number one that we changed. Have we changed it in the last 5 years? No. We have moved the heavens and the earth in this state and across the United States of America with legislation. And we've passed legislation that some people thought there is no way you'll ever get that legislation moved. And we've moved that type of legislation. But have we been able to pull away the fifth vital sign because of a JCO recommendation? Have we been able to remove that? No, there's no way. And we're like, you got to be kidding me. The one thing that's not a law is the very thing that most of the providers and prescribers themselves say that we need to fix, and we can't fix it. So, okay, there is good news. I understand that the Joint Commission is going to take the issue up. They've agreed to take it up this year. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So, anyway, all right, fast and furious, how did we get here? You know, Joe's going to talk more about how we got here, but we didn't get here overnight. And the thing I want you to take from the slide, and this is probably one of the things that I had to take, and this is where I was going to remember. Law enforcement wants to go in there and tell us what the problem is. Tell me what the problem in this, and then I need you to do what? Get out of the way and let me do what? Fix it. Fix it. That's inherently who we are. And inherently who we are, you know, how many times y'all heard that old adage, war on drugs? If I hear somebody say war on drugs, so what do they say about enforcement in terms of the war on drugs? Winners or losers? Losers or winners? So it depends on which way you look at it. Who coined the phrase war on drugs? Who said, how many of you raised your hand that said Reagan? Okay, you're all incorrect. That is the most incorrect response. Now, it was a Nancy Reagan, and she did coin a phrase, and what was the phrase that Nancy Reagan coined? Just say no. Everybody, why didn't y'all say that a minute ago? Just say no. So who coined the phrase war on drugs? Who said that? My goodness, that's the guy I ate lunch with today. I did. I got a prize for you afterwards, okay? Seriously, I did. I'm serious. See, he was thinking I wouldn't. Richard Nixon did. Do you think that Richard Nixon said, you think he realized what we would be saying about the war on drugs 20 years later? No, I don't either. What he said, war on drugs, he declared war on drugs because of why? He wanted a fanfare. He wanted to say this is a huge problem in the United States of America. It had nothing necessarily to do with a declaring war, because a war is two opposing sides. Two opposing sides, and we meet where? We meet in the middle of the battlefield, and we're going to do what? We're going to battle to the... A war has a beginning and a winners and... So if we declare war, if the President of the United States declares war on drugs, who pick out the sides? Who are the sides? Who's the war against? The people. The war's against the people, so who's going to be the forcing? Who are the opposing force? Me. Law enforcement. So how do you think that sets me up from the get-go? Am I going to go in there and win this war that way? We're going to do battle? No, it's a cultural issue. And you're declaring, these are the people that we serve to protect. This is what I do. I'm third-generation law enforcement. So you have to sit there and think, wait a minute, what is the role of law enforcement? The role of law enforcement is not the front line of defense. Law enforcement is the what? We're the last line of defense. So what really, if you're looking at a war on drugs concept, and we're applying this, it's really a drug policy issue, and that's what he meant out of it, and he wanted to get the fanfare behind it and get everybody motivated to go after it. I agree, and he needed to. But to have a war on drugs, everything else in that community has to break. Now, let me use, how many have children? Kids? All right, I'll use children. When all of the kids in the sandbox can't play well together, and mom and dad have to get involved, inevitably somebody has to do what?
Take somebody out. Take them out of the sandbox.
Somebody had to come out of there. We had to either punish them, we had to separate the kids, put somebody in timeout, send the other children home, right? So you tried everything. You exhausted all measures. And so when we're talking about a war on drugs or drug policy in our country, our community, what we have to have is the community has to rally the family. You have to have the courts. You have to have the church. You have to have social services, child protective services, the schools, all of the services that are in that community. When all of the kids in the sandbox and it doesn't work and that person is a threat to society, when that person is a threat to society or a threat to themselves, that's the point where law enforcement is supposed to step in. We're supposed to say, hey, I'm sorry. Hey, you're a really nice guy, but you got to go with me. Simple as that. You're a threat to yourself. So anyway, so right out of the gate, you set me up as a loser. And guys, I'm not a loser, I promise you. I don't do that. I fight hard. All right. So, Joe, you're never going to get on in time. I'm just saying. Fifth vital sign, culture, practice, we're going to keep going. All right, to put this into context, and I'm going to spend just a minute here, I have to frame this. If you know the answer of what I'm getting ready to say, don't answer. Let folks that have not, let them jump in here. So when we want to say how big is the problem, and we can tell you we've made a lot of progress and things are transitioning from pharmaceuticals in our state, and where are they going to? We want everybody that's coming off the pharmaceuticals as we tighten up on a balloon. If we squeeze a balloon and the balloon doesn't bust, what does it do? It pushes out the bottom or it pushes out the top. So when we squeeze and we cut down on the amount of opioids that are being diverted via the Controlled Substance Monitoring Database or via the chronic pain guidelines or via one of those methods that we put in place or education of our healthcare prescribers, we're making a lot of progress there. We're doing a lot of good. And we want to, at the same time, increase those treatment options, which we're doing that. But they're not quite there. And unfortunately, we're dealing with human beings. And humans, we would love for, you got a problem, we've identified the problem, I need you to go to treatment. Is he going to do it? 9 times out of 10, what's the person going to do? They're not going to treatment. It's not going to be their first option because they're stronger, bigger, and better than everybody else, and everybody else was weak. right? But you can handle your own until 5, 6, 7, 8 times into it, just like the gentleman was talking about in treatment. So we want them to, but they're not going to. We squeeze the balloon, they're either going to illicit drug use. We'd love for them to go to treatment. Unfortunately, they're not going to the first time. So, if they all transition to opioids, how big is the problem? What's the number one? I've got it up here on the screen. I'll give you a clue. The number one prescribed opioid in the world. Without a doubt, it's hydrocodone with acetaminophen, right? Right, Joe? Hydrocodone with acetaminophen is the number one opioid prescribed in the world. How big? How much? So if you look at consumptions, believe it or not, the International Narcotics Control Board, Joe introduced me to this group years ago, they track this all over the world. And these would be the top 10 users of hydrocodone with acetaminophen around the world. You see number 9, very populated country, 10 kilograms is what they need to meet their nation's needs. Legitimate opioids. Not talking about illicits. Legitimate. China, 20 kilograms. All the way down, Canada, 115 kilograms. Great Britain, 200 kilograms. Who's number one? Remember, if you know, don't. But if you don't, do. How much? What do you think? Give me a ballpark. This is my Bob Barker moment. You don't have a clue. Great Britain's at 200 kilograms. Throw out a number. All right, I got 500. Who said 500? We'll just put you in groups of 500. I got you right there on 500. Next, I got 500. Where else? I got a 2. Ooh, somebody said 1,000. Who said the 1,000? Ma'am's got 1,000. Ma'am, I got 1,000. Ma'am, right beside her, if you want to go 1,001, we'll lock you in. I got 1,000 with her. Who said 2,000? Somebody threw a 2 out there. 3. You said how much? Big spender, 6,000 right there. Let's close down. We've got 500 over there. We've got 1,000, 2,000. Where's my 2? I already forgot. And we got 6,000 right there. Are you ready for the number? Did you not hear me say I closed down? Now you know why they put me after lunch, don't you? Here's your number. Never given this. Guys, the first time I saw this, and I stole this slide from Joe Ranzizi, your next presenter. I stole this from years ago from Joe, and I said, Joe, there's no way. This is crazy. And he goes, oh, no way. That's very much the truth. So this is probably that defining moment where I said, oh my goodness gracious, this is big. This is a big problem. And now I start trying to wrap my head around if all of these folks, if we're moving through and we start tightening down and squeezing the balloon, we tighten them to how big is this problem? Guys, that's why you can combine all of the illicit overdose deaths. You can combine cocaine use, crack cocaine use, methamphetamine use. You combine all of those together. And you're not going to affect, or overdose as many folks as you're going to right here with opioids, prescription drugs. And still to this day, while we're seeing a major transition, and our numbers in our state and many other states, we're dropping at a very good rate of about diverted opioids, hydrocodone, oxycodone. Those numbers are going down significantly. And at the same time those numbers are going down, what numbers are going up? Heroin. Heroin is going up. And if you see heroin and just about everything else out there, there's a market. The drug trafficking organizations are going to create the market for it, because what we also have to remember, you're not going to arrest your way out of the problem. We've said that. But don't take that out of context either. When we say you're not going to arrest our way out of the problem, what law enforcement means, and we've known this a long time, we're not talking about, we know we can't arrest the users and abusers and all of those that are using, especially with these type of numbers. You can't arrest your way out of this. But make no mistake about it. We feel very strongly that we can arrest our way out of what, Joe?
As long as we arrest the right people, we can arrest our way out of the supply side.
We can go after the dealers, the ones that are hurting somebody, the ones that are overdosing folks, the ones that are peddling, the ones that are making the money. Now, I'm going to jump with the money real quick. Make no mistake about it, it is about money. And there is a criminal element out there that is making a lot of money. One of the things I used to have a hard time with my drug agents, they did not want to work pharmaceutical drug cases. One, if we worked a pharmaceutical case, they're guaranteed to go after a doctor, one of the upstanding members of that community, to go after them and tarnish their name. Are you kidding me? At the end of it, we can guarantee it may take us 3 to 6 years to work the case. When we work the case 3 to 6 years, we bring it to court, we guaranteed we're going to be in court on trial, and I'm going to be called every sack of everything, a liar and everything else. And I'm going to be challenged. Tommy, what are your qualifications? What are your qualifications against Dr. John is an upstanding member of this community? Agent Farmer, now what is your education? What is your background? Oh, you're a drug cop. You're a dope cop. How many years of drugs you got? So that's what I'm going to go through. And we're going to be in trial at a minimum of a month. When we're going to win. I'm going to tell you right now, we're going to win. I haven't lost one yet. We're going to win, but we're going to go through that. At the end of it, me and all the other drug agents, we've exhausted so many resources. The cases on our desk, on the agent's desk, continue to stack through the ceiling. They keep coming in. And we've had to deflect them and put them off on everybody else, and those cases really stacked up. And then that agent has a lot of experience in this, and I want him to do what after he has that much experience? Go do it again. And what does that agent inevitably tell me? I'm not going to use the words. No way. I ain't got time for that. But it is about the money. So until you prove out, kilo of cocaine, that's the glamorous drugs that they want to work, $25,000 a kilo. If we're talking about a gram amount, how much? This is a gram. Sweet low pack is a gram. And so $100 a gram, whether it's cocaine, methamphetamine, roughly $100 a gram. We don't talk about grams, and we're going to leave it at that, but we got to put it into context. So is there any money to be made in pharmaceuticals? Prescription drugs? Well, if you're measuring grams, my potential profit off a kilogram of cocaine, if I were to cut it down even to the lowest gram amount, I might make. Cutting it, stepping on it, adding adulterant, selling it at gram where I can maximize my profit, I may go up as much as $100,000, $150,000 where I could make off of it. What about pharmaceuticals? How do we measure those? OxyContin, oxycodone, hydrocodone, oxymorphone. What are they measured in? Grams? Milligrams. How many milligrams are in a gram? 1,000 milligrams in a gram. Okay, so conservatively, if I was doing hydrocodones, $3 to $7, but let's just say across the board with an oxy, it's $1 a milligram, with the exception of oxymorphone. Oxymorphone, $4 to $7 a milligram. So let's start doing some quick math on that one. At $1 a milligram, I've got 1,000 milligrams. How many milligrams are in a kilo? How many milligrams are in a kilo? 1,000,000. Well, let's keep this simple. 1,000,000 times 1 is what? 1,000,000. You get me? Now you see the math? When somebody says, oh, there's no money to be made in it, oh, no contraire. There's a lot of money to be made in it. There is not another one out there, with the exception now possibly of fentanyl, that's going to be more profitable. And you're guaranteed, if it came from Purdue Pharmaceutical, if they didn't get one thing right, they got the dosing right. You got quality control. And you know exactly what you're going to get. If I go oxymorphone, $4 to $7, let's shoot for the middle at 5. That's $5 million I can make off of 1 kilogram. So there's a lot of profit motive here that you can make a lot of money off of it. Oh my goodness, Joe, you're going to be so late. All right. So 99.3% of the world's production is going to be consumed here. I'll let him go into the next of those. Where does Tennessee fall in that? So, put it into context. What's the population of Tennessee? About 6.3, 6.5 million. This is per capita. 6 billion, okay. So, the United States of America makes up what percentage of the world's population? We're just over 5% now of the world's population, depends on what day of the week it is. And we're consuming that. Or one, are we that sick of a nation? We're not that sick. Two, now think about where Tennessee's at. And this is why we've partnered up. And it's a health issue, it's a safety issue, it's a treatment issue. It's why we've had to partner up and say, When Dr. McFeeters is sitting here looking at Tommy, and I'm saying, hey, we got to do something. Our ceiling is very, very high. We have a very long way to go. We didn't get here overnight, and we're not going to get out of it overnight. That's the thing to take from this. It's going to be a long-term process. But we have to be very careful. As I said, we've got the ship headed in the right direction, and we got to work the gas and keep moving forward, because you can derail this thing. If all of a sudden you jump in there and you start trying to tweak and push and pull and tug and tow, you can derail this thing. And guys, the consequences are too grave for us to derail this.
Hi! I need to get some prescriptions filled. Where's Cliff?
Cliff's at lunch. I'm Don. Wow, that's a lot of prescriptions. Let's see what we have here. Percodan, 1,000 milligrams, 500 count.
Boating accident. Bruised my arm. Dr. Randazzo thought I just needed to take some Buffrin for the bruise. But I sensed a touch of bursitis, so better safe than... Well, you know the rest.
Or are you taking any other medications?
Well, this morning I was feeling a little sluggish, so I popped a handful of Benzedrine to get a jump start. You know, just a quick pick-me-up. I got errands.
Well, there's a new pick-me-up you can try. It's called coffee. I'm serious. All right, you also need a gallon jar of powder Dilaudid.
For Dr. Doug Yoshiki, my ear, nose, and throat guy.
Now, you got to be careful with that stuff. You know, it's like powdered heroin.
Tell me about it. I'm diabetic.
Says to inject 500 milligrams 12 times a day? Are you sure that's the correct dosage?
Funny story. Dr. Swickler's got me on Darvon and Demerol. Fine. Dr. Aku has me on Tritescaline, Prozac, and Thiazide.
Thiazide, the steroid?
Let me finish, Don. Long story short, I'm late for my hairdresser's funeral. I cut across the lawn, slip on a fresh crap, and voila! Guess who bruised 2 fingers?
Colette Reardon.
That's me! So there's that. On top of the grief, well, you must imagine how depressed I was. Luckily, I find 5 tabs of lithium at the bottom of my purse. But Michigan, my OBGYN, says I probably shouldn't mix prescriptions on account of the drinking, Don. So he suggests the Dilaudid. Surprise!
Yeah, big surprise. All right, let's see. Next we have 65 milligrams phenobarbital.
The same one the Heaven's Gates kids use.
Hold the vodka. I'm serious. All right, this one says 1,000 buttons of religious quality peyote.
Dr. Steve Longshoot practices medicine on the reservation. Good kid, good kid.
All right, Mrs. Reardon. I'm not sure your HMO covers peyote. I'm not sure we even carry peyote, but why don't you have a seat in the waiting area right over there?
I know where it is, eye candy. Say, this may be the Benzedrine talking, but you're a slice of man meat, and this prescription says take with food, huh?
There's a Whitman sampler in the house. Now, please, just wait over there.
Okay.
Yes, Dr. Steve Longshoe, please. Yes, doctor, I just wanted to check on a patient of yours, Colette Reardon.
Tell him I said hi, Don!
No, I didn't mean to suggest anything, Dr. Longshoe. Okay, yeah, just stay off the fire water. No, I'm serious. All right, Mrs. Reardon, everything seems to check out, your medications.
Thanks, Don. Ooh, I better take my pills and get to work. You gotta be in top form, Don, when you're driving a school bus full of kindergartners.
You gotta be careful, Mrs. Reardon. You make Courtney Love look like Amy Grant.
Don!
I'm serious.
Okay, obviously that's a Saturday Night Live, and guys, I played that 1,000 times, and I still laugh every time I play it. The reality to it, it's really, really sad. So I know I'm out of time. I want to tell you this. If this was 1.5 kilos of heroin, which it's not, it's sugar. If it was 1.5 kilos of heroin, what you're going to have here is now fentanyl. Fentanyl, that 1 gram that I passed around, that 1 gram of fentanyl replaces every bit of that, even if it's pure heroin. Okay? So this is what I'm chasing. I don't need this anymore. This can absolutely replace all of this. Substitute. And then what do? I can use any type of cut, whether it's vitamin B12, aspirin, anything, whatever. Well, Tommy, how do you do it? You stop by Walmart and you buy a 1,000-count bottle of aspirin. And then you take them home. While you're at the Walmart, you buy your blender, just like I did right here. And then hold your ears. And then it don't work. Okay. Oh, you got to have the thrill. Oh, yeah. So to make sure that all of my consistencies, we know that a grain of sugar is a little bit bigger than sweet low, right? It's powderized. So that you could see what a gram or what the fentanyl may be in this, I'm pretending I grind all that up to make it look the same. The characteristics of fentanyl enable it to, it's a synthetic man-made drug, very, very, very powerful. And some words upwards, very dangerous. So because of the characteristics, it can be airborne and it can be absorbed through the skin. So number 1 is this. You see all the dust come out of it? And what you don't realize is the folks that are standing close to me, she just, not only did she see it, she smelled it, and she also what? You inhaled it and you tasted it. You can taste the sweetener just like that. Now you guys can't see it. There is absolutely no way with fentanyl. The blue. So how much is it? 2 grains of salt, 60 micrograms. We're not talking about grams, we're talking about micrograms. 60 micrograms. 1 grain of salt is about 60 micrograms. 2 grains of salt is an optimum dose because an optimum dose is 125 micrograms. Cut me out 2 micrograms in that. 125 micrograms, you can't do it. Because it's a matter of Russian roulette. They're going to overdose themselves. If you get 2, you might be okay. If you get 3, you're what? You're dead. You're overdosed. And that's why we're going to continue to respond, and that's why it's the problem. The other is that I just got it on me and the absorption rate, and it could overdose me, and we are, and that's why we need the Narcan, and the Narcan may or may not reverse the overdose itself. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. It goes up now.